Yep.
People rail on it. It's an evil empire. But when I pick up my iPhone, when I pick up my MacBook, I know it's going to work.
Yep.
It's as simple as that.
You can thank that Uyghur. You can thank that Uyghur in the Xinjiang province for that. Here's to the Uyghur. Here's to the Chinaman.
Hey, man, keep cranking them out. Nobody, hey, you know what? Nobody else in the world cares about you. Why should I?
You don't think that Uyghur? You don't think that Uyghur made the parts inside that Lenovo as well? Yeah, I mean, for the listeners out there, so we're obviously on a different platform now. We're back on StreamYard, which we tried like a year and a half ago. It sucked. So then we went to Zencaster, which was good for like a year, and then like the last 6 months, it started sucking. And then last episode, we had Cajun Conservative on. His video looked good. His audio sounded good, way better than ours typically does. So we decided to go back to StreamYard. And then we're now on take 2 because I tried to run this off an HP laptop, high-end one, by the way, and some Beats, headsets. And yeah, screw that. So I'm now back on my MacBook and back to my AirPods, and that's what I'm sticking with. So kind of like what Josh was saying. When you want it to work, I get it. Everybody hates them, whatever. When you want it to work, go Apple.
Yeah. I don't like the planned obsolescence with their phones, though. I don't like that.
You don't
I know it's the nature of the beast.
But you think they all do that?
I think Apple is
Android. You couldn't even. I don't even know if you can now, but Android, you couldn't even update their base software or their kernel. Once they went from like 13 to 14, you had to throw the phone away.
I think that's because they're incompetent. I think Apple does it on purpose. Okay, and look, I get it, dude. It's capitalism. It's like the razors. The razors for your face, right? Yep. That they do planned obsolescence worse than anyone. Like when Gillette puts out the new 5-blade ultra close shave, they come out and they use that hard steel, that good steel that lasts forever, and like, man, this razor's great. And then they lower the quality of the metal that they're using in those razors. They get dull faster. But people are like, no, this is the best razor in the world.
That's a good point, dude, because I was using Dollar Shave Club for a while because they had their executive 5-blade thing, which was just like the Gillette thing, right? But half the price. Highly recommended it. Been using them for, I don't know, probably 10 years, dude, if they've even been around that long selling that razor. Well, they all of a sudden changed. And the new razor they have sucks. It sucks balls. And my whole family was using, not the same razor, obviously different razor handles and whatever. But we were always like, hey, man, because I could order, it would come every month. I'd order a 3-pack and, whatever. And then all of a sudden they change. And so I get on, support. I'm like, hey, where are these razors for this handle and stuff? And they're like, oh yeah, we discontinued those. We don't do them anymore. So I was like, anyway, like whatever, your new blades suck. I'm going back to Gillette because Costco's got like the Gillette Mach 3. And it was stupid cheap. It was like, you get 5 packs of 5 in the blade for like $19 or whatever the heck it was. I got it. And dude, like you're saying, so the first 3 or 4 shaves, I'm like, I found my new razor. But by God, it after that 3rd shave, like you are gambling if you want to go with a 4th shave. I mean, that steel, I think, is so thin and cheap. And like you said, they do it on purpose, right? That's why they sell 5 packs of 5. That, dude, you get a 3rd, you might get a 4th, and then you're onto a new blade.
Yeah. Yeah.
What razors are y'all using?
Well, me, I have a razor. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I have a razor that I've been able to use that thing for a month. Over a month. The same one.
When I was on my Dollar Shave Club, their executive razor, yeah, I could use it for a month. And when I was with like the Gillette, whatever their Mach 25 is or whatever that thing is, the F35, I could use that for like a month. But when I went to the downgraded Mach 3 because they sold it at Costco and it was cheap and I don't shave every day. Yeah, dude, it's like you get 3 shaves with it and then you got to toss it.
What are you shaving with that?
This thing right here, I don't shave my cheeks and my neck, right? And it's this thing that's got the safety razor thing in it, and this will last me a month because you just turn that thing over, and it's cheap, super cheap. But I don't shave much, just my cheeks and my neck, because I don't want to be a neck beard. But you guys are both bald as hell. Do you use you don't use a razor, you use something else?
I use a razor.
No, I use a razor. When I'm in the shower, I lather up my head with shaving cream and I grab my Bic. It's like a knockoff. It's like a knockoff Gillette.
It's a shop at Bic.
27, whatever.
It's a shop at Bic outside the Fort
Oh.
Jackson basic
I got
training. Oh, good Lord.
I buy it. I bought it at the Smoke Bomb Hill Shopette, on Fortress Bragg, 20 years ago. And like, dude, lather up your head, man, and just go. And I mean, and I shave my head twice a week. So I mean, I'm, it gets some use. But I've used that thing for probably 2 months easy before I've got to, grab another one. You almost have some coarse ass hair.
Maybe Bic's the way to go. Well, I've been using Gillette forever. I've never, other than Dollar Shave Club, those are the only two razors I've used. So maybe I need to try Bic, try something different.
Dude, I can buy three. Right? I can buy 3 of these Bics. They're like $9 for 3 of them, and those things will last me 6 months easy.
Dude,
you and Nicole share, or
no? She'd never touch it. She won't touch anything that touches my body.
My hair, I mean, dude, I don't have a thick beard, I got decent, right? But man, it is, since I was a kid, it's like shaving wires. I'll wear out a razor quick. And I don't know what that is, man, but it's just like, little tiny
it's all those
wires.
Chemicals you got in your body.
Well, not when I was a kid, man.
Do you use like a beard balm or anything in the shower?
No.
You soften that stuff up, man.
But here's the thing: I don't shave that, but it's just right here and right here. So I mean,
I know, but it'll soften them up to where when they come out, man, you got like that. I don't know what's going on with you. You got like that pig hair.
Pig hair.
It's like all wiry and bristly.
Yeah, it is.
Javelina.
It's like I have Javelina on my face.
Luke's
grooming tips from C3.
My man, if we were to eat you, you would be dark meat.
Dark meat.
Yeah. Speaking of grooming and hair, you guys wax your nose?
No.
Now I thought you were joking. So give us a story on that thing, because I thought you were joking, and then I was like, I don't think he's joking.
No, I legit wax the inside of my nose. So like you got those little nose hair trimmers that you stick up in there
that suck.
They're terrible. I've had a couple of different ones, and I can't find one that works, right? So I'd been using my little beard trimmer, to kind of like get it, I'd stick the edge of it in there and kind of get it around, but it never worked because it doesn't get far enough. And I mean, you don't want to take all the hairs out of your nose, because I mean that's your air filter, and so, but. So, and the wife had said, it was like, you could always wax it. I was like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not sticking hot wax in my nose and then jerking all those hairs out, right? That would probably be the most painful thing in the world. So one day I'd had enough. Like, it's sticking out, and like my nose hairs are coming out, and they're like running into my mustache, and you really couldn't tell the difference where my mustache ended and nose hairs started. So I was like, okay, I can't live like this anymore. And so she took me to the beauty store, or whatever the name of it is, and got this little wax crayon, hit it with the hair dryer until it starts to melt a little bit, and then you just hold your nostril open and stick it in there, let it sit for about a minute, and then hey man, rip that Band-Aid off.
How many times do you have to do it? Like, you do it several times in the same nostril, or it's like one time?
Yeah, I know. It took me, I think each nostril, I probably did it 3 times, 4 times each nostril. But legit, it did not. It was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Right, it did not hurt as bad as I thought it was going to. And again, I only went like halfway. I didn't take all my nose hairs out because you want to
touch your brain.
Yeah, no, it wasn't like it wasn't like getting COVID tested. And then so just to see, how painful it was. I was like, well, that really wasn't that bad. I don't know why people get all bent out of shape about waxing, because it's not that it didn't hurt that much. And so like, I slapped some on my shoulder to, do that. No, holy cow, that shit hurt. So I think the longer the hair, I think the more it hurts. I don't know, why, but I think, yeah, man. But
I totally get it though. I mean, I've pulled like a nose hair out that was like 4.5 inches. It seemed. I'm like, where in the hell did this thing come from? Like, it had to be rooted in the back of my brain, and like just crawled its way down, and it sticks out. And I'm like, okay, let me grab this thing and pull it. You're like, this is longer than any hair I've had on my head in the last 15 years.
Yeah, by far. But I could breathe better instantly. you know, and I've noticed, here in the last couple weeks, like I don't get as much, gunk in my nose.
Not as many boogers.
Not as many, yeah, not as many boogers. Hey, dude,
The boogers don't taste as good.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
They're a little thin. They're a little thin these days.
So I know that nose hair waxing thing was big in northern Iraq. I don't know if that's a Kurdish thing or what, but the dudes were always going to the barbershops there and getting their noses done. I remember that. But my big question, if I ever make it to the pearly gates, I'm going to ask God, because I get the nose hair thing. I understand that. It's the air filter, like Josh said. It keeps it limits the particles coming in. My big question is, hey, God, why at 40 does the hair on my head stop growing and the hair on my ears starts just sprouting out like nobody's business? Because it's like, I don't get what the usage is of ear hair. You know what? I don't get it. I mean, if anything, that's going to muffle the sound a little bit, because humans don't have good hearing anyway in the animal world, really. So it's like, what's up with that? Because the ear hair is just, it kills me. And I had a boss a few years ago, and this dude had just given up. Like, he took care of himself and everything, but he had given up on the ear hair aspect. And I just, looking at that ear hair, it's like what movie was that where he's pointing at his Austin Powers? Mole, where he's pointing at the mole. That's what it was with my boss. I was like, I couldn't take my eyes off his beautiful ear hair. It's like he could almost comb it. He's a little older, but what's up with that ear hair, man? I don't get that.
Well, maybe it's used to muffle the sound, because when you get older, you get tired
of hearing everybody's bullshit.
Yeah. He's like,
it's God's sense of humor.
But you are right, though, because in line with the nose hair, I'm pretty sure I pulled out some 4-inch ear. I think they all touch each other. I have like 2 4-inch hairs in the ear and one up both. I think they all touch each other, like in my brain or something like that. And then you just got to pull them every 2, 3, 4 months.
I don't know if I want to go here or not talking about the grooming. Maybe we'll wait till later. When it
you
comes
shave
to
your
body
junk,
hair.
man. Go ahead, tell everybody.
No, I don't shave my junk. So we're going there. I don't shave my junk, but I had a colleague. I had a colleague back in I don't know, it was back in San Antonio, and you go down to South America a lot, Central America. You know how it was down there, Josh. It's just nasty, sticky, gross, and you get a case of the swamp ass, and that leads directly to monkey butt, and nobody wants that. It's just a gross feeling. 24/7. You can't, it never really goes away. And it's like, so we were all sitting around the office talking about it. And he goes, "Oh, well, you don't nair your ass?" And I'm like, "No." Whoa. And he goes, "Here, man, check this out." And he pulls up Amazon, and it's this stuff called Balls Balm. And he's like, "You got to do this." And I'm like, "I'm not going to do that." He goes, "You do it. It'll change your life. It will change your life in multiple ways." And I was like, "I do that." So I think for Christmas one year, this guy gave me a thing of Balls Balm that he had ordered off Amazon. So, dude, I tried it, and dude, changed my life in a positive way. It's good stuff. you just right up under there, you put it on, let it sit there for 5 to 7 minutes, take it off. It doesn't leave a burn, nothing. And you would be surprised how much content is down there and how it will change. And you don't have to do it all the time either. Once every 6 months or so, it's all good. I'm telling you, man, change your life. It really makes the monkey butt. It really helps with that. Also, it'll decrease your toilet paper supply. What?
You just take it and slather it right up in your grundle?
Mm-hmm. You let it sit there. You sit there for 5 minutes, watch a couple videos on YouTube. And then you're just in the shower, and they give you a little glove. It's like a cloth glove, like a washcloth glove. And yeah, you just get in there, do your business, and you're all cleaned up, buddy. And it's good to go.
Now, you know what's going to happen, right, guys? So right now, our listeners are all like, "Dude, I can't believe they do that. I'd never do that. I'm a man's man." And then like Damon's going to hit me up on text like, "Hey, man, what was that stuff called that Luke was using again?"
What was the name of that?
It was on Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. And hey, man, I feel you, because it's not a manly thing to do, right? But it does make life easier in certain areas. Just put it to you that way.
I get it, dude. There was a bunch of dudes. It was my junior, senior year of high school. Playing sports and stuff, dude. Hey, man, it's Florida. It's humid. It's hot.
Yeah,
those dudes straight up shave, dude. They shave their armpits. Yeah. they shaved their armpits, and a couple of them had, you get those couple of guys in high school that maybe they had to repeat a grade or two, and so they start growing a bunch of chest hair, before everybody else, and they're like, "Dude, it's too hot, man. I got to get rid of this." So
They
like
look
they
like
were,
Tom Jones
basically,
graduating, walking across the stage, chest hair
right?
flowing
Yeah,
out.
yeah. And it's like, you don't have to do that, man. You're not on the swim team. And they're like, "No, dude, like it helps." And I tell you, when it's 90 degrees and 80% humidity, like the least amount of body hair you can have on you, the better off you're gonna be.
Well, I think one of our listeners, I think Darren, I could be wrong about this, and Darren will hit me up because he will listen to this. But we all raced bicycles back in the day, and I think we were pretty good. Well, we thought we were. And one of the things cyclists do is they shave their legs, right? And a lot of people think you shave your legs for aerodynamics. No, not really. You shave your legs because when you crash, and you will crash, it heals so much faster. It doesn't scar, nothing. You crash all the time if you're racing bicycles, at least twice a month, and you get that road rash. And it's really good because first of all, that hair's not there to catch all the anything, the germs and the whatever to cause infection. But if you're cleanly shaved and you scrape out and you got that road rash, that hair grows out and pushes all those microbes and stuff right out of your the underlayer of your dermis. So we all shaved our legs, and that is a pain in the ass, man. My hat is off to you, because shaving the legs is no joke. It sucks. And I bet Darren still shaves his legs, though. I think he does. He does mountain bikes, so I think he still shaves his legs. I'm pretty sure he does. But yeah, so had some experience shaving the old legs. Have some experience taking the hair off the grundle. I wish it was that easy for ear hair, though.
No. Well, you can't do no, I guess it's for wax. I was going to say they do the earwax removal with like the candle and the smoke, but I don't know about like
I've
waxing your
tried
ear hair.
that. Have you tried that with the my wife and I nearly burned down the house trying to do that.
Well, that's exactly it. So I gurgled it one day. I was like, man, because like you said, man, when you get older, it's like my body puts out more of everything except for hair on top of my head. So I was like, you know what? Let me check out this earwax stuff or whatever. And what do you call an ear doctor? Whatever, the ENT.
Ear, nose, and throat. Yeah, ENT.
Yeah. They were like, they didn't even actually give an answer. They were like, so you want to put a flaming candle next to your ear that's like 3 inches from your brain? I was like, no, I think I'm good. So I just never did it from then on.
Yeah, we tried it. I don't. Either we were doing it wrong, whatever. But a little piece of it, I don't know why. I was laying on the bed and I had this little plate on my head, and one of the things just came off, hit the bed, and dude, we still laugh about it. We still laugh. We burned our sheets.
Well, I know like salons and stuff do it, or like when I was a recruiter, we had next door. They would go like the Marine recruiter. I wish I could remember his name, but he would go next door and they would do the earwax thing, candle wax, or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know if they have an ear hair removal. Surely they do. Amazon, it goes back to Josh just showed it on Amazon. That's during take one. I was talking about that. You can buy anything on Amazon now. Like I literally bought tires for my car off of Amazon, and they were cheaper. And I was actually able to get the make and model and the year because that's, just like anything else, like you said, with razor blades, you buy the tires, they last about 2 or 3 years, and then they stop making that model. And then you have 4 different, types of tires on your car. And I found it on Amazon. It was cheaper than it was going to my local Firestone discount tire or whatever. But I guess my point being, like, Amazon was not the first place that I would think to go buy that. Like everything else, yeah. But I mean, Amazon sells everything, man.
Yeah, I was just looking at reading up on the Balls Bomb, that Luke talked about. It actually looks legit, and it's not that expensive. It's $14.
Did you order?
If you got Prime, it's free shipping. What's that?
Did you order? It's going to be here before the end of this recording.
November. We're gonna live stream it.
It'll get delivered on November 16th, so it'll be here in 2 days. We're gonna give it a go.
That tube will last you forever because, again, I mean, look, I'd say twice a year, maybe. It's just because dude, we're getting way too graphic, but it does. I didn't leave a burn on me or nothing. But I'm telling you,
as long as it's not like Nair, man. So I Nair my back. I nared my back like a very, very like 20 years ago,
So
right when it first came out, and I was just like, because most of my body hair is blonde, so it's hard to it's hard to see, but it was still there, and it drove me nuts. So I let the wife nair my back, and dude, you remember those little we called them stinging needles, right? Little, they grew out of the ground and they had like a little white flower on them. They only grew a couple.
mm,
They grow a couple inches high. You run them up in between your toes. Like that's what it felt like on my back when I put that nair on there, and it was like that for like a day, and
no.
it drove me mad.
Well, there's no guarantee how it's going to affect different people's skin, right? All I'm saying is with me, it's not like that. Like, but when it's on there, like, do not leave it on longer than they say. And I think it's like 5 to 7 minutes or something like that. They like have a bold, do not leave it on longer than that.
Oh
You know
no,
what?
I'll have
I guarantee, knowing Luke, it burns like hell. And
No,
he's just sitting here talking shit like, "No, man, it's good, dude. It's like putting on baby lotion. You're good to go."
like
That's
a
all right.
kid in Christmas
I know where
story.
you live.
No, but dude, what I'd like is if when you get it, when you do it, give the show a rundown of how you felt different afterwards, because dude, it feels weird. If you've never, the
We'll
first
do
time you're like, what is going on?
we'll
What's
do a
going
play
on
by
down there?
play. We'll do a play by play.
Do it on the Slack channel, and then you got to do like
Oh, I
picks,
totally
like
did.
every couple picks.
Oh, I should do that. I'll do it on the Slack channel. I should have done my 72-hour fast on the Slack channel. I didn't even think
Oh,
about it.
yeah.
That would have been a good one to do. Maybe I'll do that again here in a couple months, and I'll do it on the Slack channel.
So
We'll see
my
how it
wife
goes.
had to do a 24-hour fast, right? And Josh was a champ about it. Like he was texting us during his fast, and like dude, I couldn't have done it. I mean, I struggled to make it to as far as I did, but my wife had the same thing done. So last week she had to go for a 24-hour fast. I tried to get her to make some videos, man. I was like, let's go out in the backyard. I still got my t-shirt. We can wrap it around your head, and she wasn't into it. She wasn't having it.
She didn't think that was nearly as funny as you did.
No, I thought it was funny as hell, but yeah, she was like, I'm not doing that. But you're looking at doing fasting like fairly regularly, right? Like once a month, or what's your?
No, so I'm doing intermittent fasting right now. So I'm doing a 16/8. So I'm only feeding between 11 in the morning and 7 in the evening. Yeah, no, I did the 3-day fast just to hard, kind of reset my body. And it was, so I started Sunday night after dinner. This is 2 weeks ago now. So Sunday night after dinner, I was like, all right, here we go. And all I had until Wednesday at 7 o'clock, which is when I finished dinner on Sunday, was water and black coffee. That was it. For 72 hours. And the day one, once I got past the first couple hours of day one, once I got past the the morning, I was fine. It was like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but I didn't think that I didn't think that much about it. I thought day one was going to be a lot worse. Day two, at about lunchtime, I got to the point where I was like, this is stupid. Like I have to have something to eat, and I was I was like, I'm gonna go eat that entire box of Triscuits in like 2 minutes, right? Because I was starving. I was so hungry. But I kept telling myself, I'm like, all right, just make it one more hour. Make it till 6 without caving, and we'll be good. I made it till 6 o'clock, and I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go eat that box of Triscuits because I'm hungry. That was at noon. And so finally, bedtime came, and I was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed, which obviously wasn't that long after 6. Uh, and and so I was, and so the wife was on a cruise during this time too, man. So it's like, it's the kids and the kids, they're like, hey, dad, and I made dinner and everything, and that made it even worse, right? So I'm cooking food, but I can't have any, for a couple of days, and but the third day, I got a boost of energy. Like the third day, man, I was crushing it. Like I was doing stuff around the house, like I was
Tapped into
working
your
out.
fat cells is what it is.
Yeah, it's exactly what it. It's
Hit your
exactly what it was.
reserves.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. My body was like, okay, well, I'm not getting any more carbs, So I got to do something or I'm going to die. And so it was like, well, this dude has some excess around his waist. Let me just go ahead and start, chewing on that. But
Isn't
dude,
that amazing, right? Because that goes back to like the caveman days, right?
yeah,
Where you had your big meal, you killed your woolly mammoth, right? And you had your big meal and you got to relax for a little while, live a good life, and then now you're going hungry again. And so is the rest of the tribe, so is your family. So you're going to feel like shit for a couple days when you're out hunting. But when the shit hits the fan, when it's time, we're finally tracking that saber-toothed tiger or whatever the hell it is, you get that burst of energy where it starts. I'm telling you, man, the human body, we think we're so different than what we were. Yeah, I don't know what people in here believe, whether we're 4,000 years old. I tend to believe we're a little bit older than that as a species, but we are so well engineered. It's just in the nature, and the body is so much smarter than we are. It's amazing. It's fascinating to me that you got that burst of energy that you would need to go hunt an animal or catch food or whatever it is. Focus. Were you focused?
yeah,
See, that's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
it was crazy. And and as much as it sucked, I would totally do it again. I'm thinking about doing it again. I think about doing it like, every, 3, 4 months just a hard reset. Hard reset the body because day 2 was terrible. I mean, dude, day 2 was a struggle. Like that struggle was real. Um, dude, I wasn't even that hungry in SEER school. And
What if what if someone paid you? What if someone paid you? Like this is your full-time job. I should just go ahead. Have you guys seen the movie The Machinist with Christian Bale?
No.
It's
No.
okay. It's an okay movie. It's okay. But that's the movie he lost a ton of weight. I think he got down to like 130 pounds, and he's a big boy. And he fasted straight up for like 4 months. He was having like an apple a week, and all he was coffee, cigarettes, and he looks awful. Pull up the Machinist Christian Bale. Pull up an image of that. It's scary. He looks like he's on the verge of death. And it's like he got paid to do that. And then what's amazing about Christian Bale is 6 months after they wrapped the filming of The Machinist, 6 months after that, he was shooting in the Batman movie, Batman Begins, where he was jacked. And he actually
Holy
showed up to
cow.
set. Yeah, he actually showed up to set, and Christopher Nolan said, "Yeah, bro, you need to go lose some weight. You look like the fat man." He's like, it's like 6 months after looking like that, Josh. Y'all look it up. Y'all listening.
I'm looking at him. I'm looking at him right now compared to, dude, they got a picture of him in The Machinist and then a picture of him in American Hustle.
Oh, God. Yeah, you can't do that to your body without some kind of blowback, I mean, that's going to take its toll someday.
There's got to be some long-term health issues associated with doing that, because that's nuts. Like
Yeah.
that's absolutely insane. I read when I was reading up on this 72-hour fast that one of our friends did it, and he's the one that kind of turned me on to it, because he did it and then he went full keto. Right after it coming out of it, he was like full keto, which I've done for the last 2 weeks now. And I was reading up on it. There's a 7-day fast that some people are doing. They're like fast for 7 days. And you're just like, you can have coffee and, unsweetened coffee, just black coffee and water for 7 days. And I was like, yeah, dude, you just can't jump right into that. And then I read to where you're not supposed to jump right into a 72-hour fast. And I was like,
whoops. So tell me when your sweat starts smelling like cat piss. If you're on a real keto diet and you're working out, you'd let me know when your piss starts smelling, or your sweat, starts smelling like ammonia. Because that's what happened to me. When I was on the full keto, I was working out hard, bro, hard. And my workout shirts started smelling like cat piss. We're like, the cat's peeing on the shirts. What's going on? And it wouldn't wash out either. And Michelle this is when we were living in San Antonio. Michelle's like, what the hell is wrong with the cats? And we figured out it wasn't the cats, because I was putting them straight in the washer. They weren't jumping in there. It's like my sweat when I was working out, my body would go into ketosis. and produce just a lot of basically ammonia. And back then I was like, what's going on? And I typed in, because this was before keto was big. Like keto's gotten big over the past 3 or 4 years. That was it's a good point. We'll have to tell that story later. But anyway, I typed into Google. I was like keto diet cat. I like CAT, and it auto-filled cat pee. It knew. And so I started doing some research on it. Apparently, I think the keto diet is for well, it's for a lot of folks. Diabetics, some diabetics have to do it, and then people with epilepsy do it because it gets the body into a state of ketosis, which it lowers the risk of epileptic seizures, and that's one of the side effects. Like if you're truly strictly on it, your body just produces a lot of ammonia, a lot of nitrogen.
Huh.
But that's really good for muscle growth.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Well, keep a nose out for it.
It's only been 2 weeks.
Nicole will tell you.
Thus far. Yeah. She'll tell me.
Speaking of all this stuff, I really want to bring this up because I saw it early today, where this guy, Josh, I want to talk about politics. So we're gonna have a happy middle ground here. Did you guys see the senator from Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen, in the hearing today with the Teamster union boss guy?
No,
you didn't see that.
He threatened. He wanted to fight him.
Well, this Teamsters guy who looks like a fat piece of 47% body fat, looks like 208 260 pounds of chewed bubblegum. This guy had been talking crap about Mark Wayne Mullen, and I don't even know what the hearing was about. But Mark Wayne Mullen gets up there and he's reading this guy's tweets, and this guy calls him out like, anytime you want to go man to man, just name the time and place. And Mullen's like, this is the time, this is the place. We're both consenting adults. Do you want to do this or not? And the guy, this piece of garbage looking Teamsters guy, I'd love to beat the crap out of this guy. He's like, well, let's do it. Stand your butt up. So Mark Wayne Mullen's like, oh yeah, and he stands up, kicks the chair out behind him, hits the two staffers, and he's like about to take off his wedding ring. He was ready to go. So I was like, who's this Mark Wayne Mullen senator from Oklahoma? So I'm reading up on him, and he's okay. This Teamsters guy is picking a fight with a wrong senator. Okay, this guy is a mixed martial arts fighter. He's fought 3 fights, won all 3. And he's an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation. It's like, dude, yeah, you probably don't want to mess with this particular senator. It's like, I'll take my chances with the House of Representatives, Crenshaw, before I'd mess with this guy Mullen. And I was watching a little bit of the news, and all these pundits are like, "This is just a disgrace," and all this is a disgrace, and this doesn't belong in the halls of Congress. And Josh is going to bring up. In 18, whatever it was, where somebody came in and beat the crap out of somebody with a cane. And it's like, hey, man, I think that's an accurate reflection of kind of how the American people feel right now. I mean, we're ready to fight. And then another House of Representatives was accusing, this happened today too, was accusing McCarthy of elbowing him in the kidney as he passed him in the hall, like throwing a nice little elbow check into the kidney, and actually confronted him. And there's like an audio recording of it. So man, things are getting chippy in the halls of Congress. And I mean, I guess you guys feel like since everyone should wear suits, they should also act in an appropriate manner. But I really don't have a problem. It's like, that makes me think, okay, maybe you're not cutting a side deal in the back. If you're elbowing somebody in the kidney, or you're about to throw down with a Teamsters union boss right there in a hearing, maybe there's nothing crooked going on. Maybe you really, really do feel that way.
Or I believe that you should be wearing a suit and still doing that like our founding fathers did. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I had somebody actually remove me off one of the, their Facebook friends or whatever the hell it was. Because I forget where this was a couple years ago, and they were talking about something like, hey, we were founded on violence. I mean, dude, there was nothing, peaceful about, our founding fathers. And, you look at the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, you look at George Washington crossing the Delaware, we've had, vice presidents, with duels. I mean, dude, we were not founded on peace. We are not a peaceful nation. And so I don't have an issue with folks in Congress. Not that they should still be doing. Maybe they should, because there's a couple people that, whatever. But dude, I'm all about some physical intimidation. I'm all about getting in people's faces, because I think there's and there's something to be said with what you said, that you don't feel there's some back deals going. Well, it's still going on. But, I mean, you want to see people that are passionate and truly believe in what they believe right now. And I won't go too far down this spectrum, but I texted this earlier. A lot of people don't like, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? MTG. I tell you what, man, right now, she's the only one bringing it. She's like, hey, Mayorkas, impeach him. And I think there was somebody else. She's like, such and such, impeach him. She's like, get a bill, get it to the Senate, make them turn it down. And she is, whether you like her, don't like her, whether, you agree with her politics, don't agree with her politics, she was elected by her constituents to bring those principles to the table. And that's what she's standing by. Now, I've never been a huge fan of her, because she's a little bit out there on quite a few things. Quite a lot of things, to be honest with you. But, with stuff like that, man, I'm all for it. It's like, hey, you should be getting up in people's faces. You were elected to do a job. You need to be passionate about it. That's the problem right now, is they cut too many deals back and forth. And then you realize that, it's not about the American people anymore. It's more of the GOP and the Democrats just staying in power as long as they can.
Yeah. No, I'm good with it. You know what? I think it would do Congress well in either chamber if we had a little dust up. I think it'd be legit, and do it in your suits, for sure.
Heck yeah.
I mean, Roger even brought it up, dude. I mean, the Aaron Burr, and Hamilton duel. I think Burr was the vice president at the time. I mean, you have your vice president out here, having duels. Right? I mean, that's old school. Now, you really want to make a chippy in Congress? Bring duels back. Be like, hey, guess what? You got a problem? You either, we can settle this with a little Donnybrook, or we can go have a duel, out on the Washington Mall. You pick. I think it's good, and like Roger said, I think, or you said it, I think it's really indicative of where we're at right now. And again, I don't know of any physical altercations, that have occurred in Congress post Civil War. I'm sure there's been, some fingers and faces and stuff like that, but make no mistake of where we are. Like, we are, we're not in a good place. But I'm completely okay with it. And I think, because I've had a couple of instances of this where, me and another, dude, whether, back in school or, whatever. And even in my Army days, especially this happened, especially in Stryker Brigade, in a Cav squadron. I mean, you had a problem with somebody, you went to the combatives room, you put on the gloves, and you rolled until somebody tapped out and said, I'm done. And after that, you generally became friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And if you didn't, there was definitely a level of respect that you have for that other person, even if you didn't become friends. So
there's definitely a time and a place for violence, for sure. It's part of life. It is what it is. There's a time and a place for it. I think that's a really good point, is when you go fisticuffs with somebody, or even close to it, I think that can bring folks together. But it can also go the other way too, for sure. I don't know if I've ever been angry enough with one of my fellow citizens to have a duel with them, though. I think you think about that. I like everybody to think about, like, what would it take for you to disagree with someone so much that you're willing? And guns were different back then, right? I mean, we're thinking right now, oh, I'll take my P365 or, my P320, and he's going to have his Glock, whatever, and we're going to, march paces and we're going to shoot. No, dude, it wasn't like that back then. Dude, you didn't know whether that gun was going to go off, first of all. Those little, they weren't muskets. What were the pistols called, Josh? Those little musket pistols. I can't. But you didn't know whether they were going to
blunderbuss.
Yeah. So you march, and those things were not that accurate. It's like 20 paces or whatever that is. That's a long way for those little musket pistols. And it's like and if the first one, okay, one shot, boom, neither one of them hits. Well, we're doing this again, folks. And I think there were different rules for the duels, but I know that they were very strict. And it's like that was just a different mindset back then. And I do know that one of the duel rules was if after 3 rounds no one shot, it's over. We're not doing this. We're not going until someone dies. So I learned that by watching the BBC show with Tom Hardy called Taboo, where they had a little duel. But anyway, I think you know what? I'll tell you what, Josh, you said something interesting, or not interesting, because nothing you said is interesting. Joking. So since the 1800s, there probably haven't been any serious scrapes in Congress, like there was back then, especially, when they were, talking about abolishing slavery. But I bet you the lower you go, so you got the federal level and then the state level, county, city. I bet the lower you go, the more scrapes there are, the more passionate people are. We saw during when it was the whole, after COVID, when parents were seeing what was taught in the schools, all the school board meetings where people were getting carried out by cops and stuff, unjustly, in my opinion. I bet you on the local level, it's a lot more personal and a lot more conflict. Right, Roger? I mean,
well, yeah, I mean, it's closer to everybody, right? I mean, it's the decisions that, I mean, you go to, I mean, you look at Josh and as the Hoa King now, I mean, decisions that he makes, those unilateral decisions that he makes without any cabinet and without any advice and consent or anything like that. I mean, that affects every single homeowner in his neighborhood. And so, yeah, it's one thing when, you talk about mass punishment, it's like taxes, right? Hey man, we all bitch about it. We all complain. Everybody gets taxes. You pay your fair share and pay more than your fair share. And, Congress enacts more taxes and the state passes more tax and everybody just pays or whatever. And so it's kind of like, we all feel the pain. Tax is just part of life. But when you start talking about those local levels, like your mayor, your city, that city level, even your county level, your HOAs, dude, that impacts me. Like me directly, my house directly, that pink flamingo that I want to throw in my front yard that Josh is going to come by and give me the citation for, that impacts you directly. And that's where you get the passion from, because, then it's less blunt, right? It's more direct and it's a very assertive attack directly at you in your way of life. I mean, yeah, man. And again, in that case there, going back to getting in somebody's face, it's exactly what Josh said. I may not kick your ass, maybe kick my ass, vice versa, whatever's going to happen. One, nobody likes to get punched. I don't care what anybody says. Man, I'll take a punch. Dude, nobody likes to get punched in the face, right?
Damon.
What?
Damon.
Well, okay, he might like to get punched in the face, but most people I know don't like to get punched in the face. But one thing that you will get is generally in every fight I've seen and been involved in is respect. And what that does, because right now everybody gets out there and they throw this extreme rhetoric from the left or the right, and none of it means anything, right? Because all of it's so extreme that comes out there. You get punched in the face, it does make you listen. It's like, hey, you know what? I might actually hear this guy or gal out and see what they've got to say, because I know that if we get into it again, we're going to get into it, right? And nobody, and I think it works both ways. Even if you win the fight, unless you just totally annihilate the other guy or gal, like the Oklahoma senator. One, dude, I'm not picking a fight with like an Oklahoma senator or a Kansas senator, okay, or a Nebraska senator or an Alabama. I mean, generally speaking, I'm probably not doing that. I'm probably picking, like a congressman from like California, like Swalwell or something like that. I mean, that's a dude I want to go after, or somebody from, New York, like Schumer or something like that. But, if anything, it brings respect that, you know what? Hey, I'm at least going to hear you out, and I may disagree with you, but it's going to be less, just giving you the middle finger, F off. It's all the social media stuff, right? It's the, hey, we're all keyboard warriors, sit here and cuss anybody out like the one dude did that you were saying, yeah, I'll get on, on X and talk all this crap. Well, hey, man, you feel froggy, jump. And then people are a little less, less about jumping.
So there was a story, in fact, out of Louisiana, and Isaac, he's probably tracking this. Hell, he probably knows him. Where two folks, two represented in the state legislature, got into a fisticuffs at the Louisiana state capitol. And the cool thing, one of them actually had a gun on him.
Oof.
he took it out and set it to the side, and went to blows with the other dude. So one, good on him. You took the gun out, you set it to the side. You're like, hey man, now this isn't what this is. This is mano a mano. This is what's his face on Friday. It's like, put the gun down. Use these. You know, kids these days too afraid to take an ass whipping. You win some, you lose some, but you live to fight another day. And
Wow.
yeah, so they went to blows. I think you're right. I think at the lower levels, and I think I remember reading something about an incident in the Virginia Capitol between a couple of guys that went to blows before some people broke them up. So I, I'm good with it. I think it's healthy. I think it's fine, especially when we start talking about men, right? And I know some people out there will be like, no, that's that kind of like the boys will be boys thing. But I mean, when you take a look at in the studies, there's plenty of studies that prove this to back this up. Men's aggression in men manifests itself in the form of physical violence. Aggression in women manifests itself in the form of reputation destruction, and and
You
gossip.
ain't lying.
And it's just, I mean, it's what it is, right? And so, like, men have to get that aggression out somehow. Because it's going to manifest itself in some way, shape, or form. And generally speaking, physical violence is what it manifests itself in. And I don't care what people say. Back in 1883, society was a hell of a lot more polite because if you called somebody a cheat, you called somebody an SOB, you wrongly accuse somebody of something. Well, guess what? You found yourself out in the middle of the street, you know, basically in a duel. And, people didn't go run their mouth as reckless, back then as they do today. And Mike Tyson summed it up perfectly. You know, social media has made people, and the internet's made people way too comfortable for running off of the mouth and not getting punched in the face for it.
Yeah. Same guy that said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of boxers over the years, they
Mike
talk
ain't wrong.
about the traumatic brain injury and stuff like that. There has been some, wisdom that has come out of a lot of boxers over the years. I think of Muhammad Ali said some, really profound stuff, just at the drop of a hat. Same with Mike Tyson. I'm going to tell a story real quick. So that has to do with what we're talking about. It's like confronting and, being ready for physical violence. Y'all remember, I think Rodney will really appreciate this story because he wasn't there. He should have been there. But, there was a kerfuffle going on in our city about the development that's going up out here. And we have a feeling that this development is, first of all, it is going to be a rental development. And that's bad for a community like ours. This is not a rental community. And we don't want to bring a giant, as I don't know how many units it is. I think it's 60 something, maybe 60, 70 units that are all going to be rental. And you know what that means? I mean, it's going to bring in an element that does not exist currently out here. So, everybody's trying to get to the bottom of who's responsible for this. Who on city council approved this? Did they approve it? Did they have a chance? Who knows the developer? Things like this. So a lot of questions were being asked. And there was one contentious city council meeting I was part of. And that was the one where I had planned to, I think I said it on the show, to get up and make a little speech about how city council needs to be, more transparent with the community. You've got social media, you've got a website. There is no excuse for you not communicating with the public. That's why you have the situation you have right now, is because you're just not communicating. So, and then before I had a chance to make my speech, this older gentleman, I'm so glad he stepped up because he said much more calmly than I would have exactly what I wanted to say. And he was very good. And I was like, okay, there's no need for me to stand up and say something. So this old dude that's out here in the canyon, and he likes to throw his weight around. He's a developer too. He's an old guy, extremely wealthy. And he's got this West Texas South Plains swagger that just burns my blood. It's like they think that they can, it's hard to explain if you're not from here, but it's like these old men who feel like they can get away with saying whatever they want to anyone. So he stands up at one point and he goes, I'm tired of hearing from people in this community who haven't lived here for 10 years. Basically, he was saying anyone who hasn't lived here for 10 years needs to shut up. You don't have a voice. And brother, My blood started boiling. It's the way he said it. So I was about to leave actually, because I was like, I'm not going to sit here and go through all the, all the motions they have to do and all this stuff. But when he said that, I was like, okay, I'm staying. So I was like, because I'm going to confront this guy. I'm definitely going to confront him. I'm not going to try to fight him, but I am going to have him explain to me face to face exactly what he meant by that. Yeah. Roger said that's the way the rest of Americans feel about Texas anyway. Good point. So I waited till it was over. I followed this guy out and I caught him. And I said, hey, excuse me, sir. I didn't say sir. Called him by his first name. I was like, let me ask you a question. I haven't lived out here 10 years, but do my 9 combat deployments qualify me to have any kind of voice in this community? And he was taken aback. And we've all learned the nonverbal skills. I was being polite, but I was being very forward with my nonverbal communication. I was standing very close to him, and he backed the F down. Basically, he backed down. First, he acted like he didn't know what I was talking about, so I had to explain it to him. I had to explain to him, look, I know you've lived here for 20 years. That doesn't give you more votes than me. That doesn't give you more of a say than me. We are the same. I've lived here for 2 years. You live here for 20. We're the same. And basically, I said, don't disrespect me like that again. You have to realize that we are all neighbors. My point is, if that guy wanted to escalate it, I was ready for violence. Even though he's older than me, I was ready for violence. He knew that. Yeah, exactly. I said that too, Josh. I pay my taxes just like you do. I actually said that. But he backed down because he knew it. Now, he doesn't have any more respect for me, but he knows you can't just shoot off at the mouth. You're going to have younger. I'm 50. He's probably 62, but I'm 50. I'm 50. I think it's fair. I'm not like 30 and he's like 62. I'm 50. I'm an old man too. So anyway, and then the other night on Nextdoor, this is kind of the end. I'll stop talking after this. The other night on the Nextdoor app, his wife starts shooting off at the mouth about one of the city police entering someone's home here for failure to use a turn signal. To use a turn signal. He pulled over this husband, wife, and their kids were in the car, pulled him over right in front of their house for failure to use a turn signal. The wife really had to go to the bathroom, like really bad. So she gets really bad. So she gets out of the car and the cop loses his mind. Get back to the scene of the crime. This guy is he's overzealous. So whatever. Here's the bottom line, guys. He's wrong because he did not de-escalate the situation. He turned it into something that didn't have to be. So anyway, this whole thing was going on next door. And the guy's wife, the guy who I confronted, his wife starts chiming in saying, well, you were in the wrong. You were in the wrong because of this. And I simply said on Nextdoor, no, the police officer, doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter what the story is. The police officer did not properly de-escalate. So she starts giving me the what for. So I come back to her and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to take this from you. I was very polite. And then she goes and deletes everything she says, because I guarantee her husband saw what she was typing and said, don't mess with that guy. Delete everything he wrote. So anyway, I'm just saying, a certain level of confrontation.
Gangsta.
A certain level of confrontation.
But you said that you don't think he respects you anymore. I mean, I would say that, right?
I am changing his mind.
Right. You haven't changed his mind, and he may not respect, your point of view, but there is a little bit more. Well, maybe not even respect. Maybe it's just like he's going to be a little more cautious. You with
respect.
Yeah. And he's going to be a little more cautious in dealing with you because he doesn't want to escalate, right?
He doesn't want any trouble.
Yeah.
He doesn't want any
trouble. And he
trouble,
probably thinks that, you're 9 combat vets, you got PTSD, and you're going to go all Full Metal Jacket on him or something like that.
Well, could be. I was a long story. I know that was kind of an aside, but that was just what you guys were saying about the conflict, the face-to-face. A lot can be solved right there, and maybe people will back off a little bit. That might have bored a lot of people, but that was just like a practical, use case scenario.
No, because it goes back to what I was saying. As people spew off at the mouth on the left and the right, they throw their extremes out there, and there are no ramifications. There are no consequences. It's like they say, hey, freedom of speech, man. You can say what you want to say in accordance with the First Amendment generally, That's not to say there's not going to be consequences for it. And we've gone too long, and with networking and cell phones and texting and social media, there have been no consequences, and I'm not the American gangster of Ransom Canyon like Luke is, but I have had, I've had some instances where like somebody will say something in passing and, it's meant to be a poke or whatever. And I'll be like, excuse me. It's like, oh, no, man. I'm just, no. I was talking to him over there, and it's not even that you're being aggressive or whatever, but it's like, hey man, like they forget they're not typing on their phone, and then somebody says something and it's just like, oh, he no, man, it's something else.
You guys remember how long it was ago, maybe a year or two ago, that kid that's in that convenience store and he kept calling that black guy the N-word. And the black guy, dude, he was super patient with him. He was super patient. He was really restrained. Yeah, and he had a big can of twisted tea or something like that in his hand, and he was like, "Stop saying that. Stop calling me that. Stop." He gave that kid every chance in the world to shut up. And then little Chad realized he wasn't on the internet anymore, and that dude smashed the side of his face in with that can of twisted tea or whatever it was. And it was like, yeah, man, it's like, dude, you aren't on you aren't on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Like, this is real life. And when you run off at the mouth like that, hey, those consequences are generally pretty quick. And rarely does the dildo of consequences arrive lubed, right? I mean, it's very rare. So it's yeah, man, it's good. You know what though? It's good. It's good for people every once in a while. And I think we could get a lot of things solved if even workplaces. Hey man, you know what we have? We have a combatives room. You go in there, you put on the gloves, take however long you need, but once one of you guys taps out, then it's done. Whatever that beef was is done, and we're gonna move on. And dude, I think it's a great thing.
It's that way with everything though. It's like calling folks out. I remember, and it's related, shorter story than Luke's, but I remember when I was a first sergeant, the big thing was like people were drowning in the Army because they can't swim. It's like, hey, you have to have swim lessons or whatever, it's your company training. So I put out, hey, we're going to have swim lessons, this and that. And I'm like, how many non-swimmers do we have in our company? In our company, we had like 105 people, right? So, there's going to be a certain percentile, 10%, whatever, can't swim, whatever. Dude, I tell you what, out of 105 people in the company, I had 100 Olympic swimmers until pool day came. Pool day came, and I think we had 5 people that could actually swim, right? And it's just, it's consequences. And a lot of people may say that with us, with C3. We get on here, we spew our nonsense, we talk crap, and there are no consequences, and YouTube will ban our episodes and make some of us go through retraining, which Josh, I told Luke this the other day. I had to go through retraining through YouTube because of our episode that was banned 2 years ago.
What did that look like?
So, dude, you talk about brainwashing. Wait,
what?
I wish I would have been smart enough or quick enough to like screenshot the questions that were coming up, because and I re-listened to the episode after we were banned. I think I talked about this. I re-listened to the episode. It was on COVID and whatever. And it was some of the stuff that you had said, which didn't turn out to be wrong. Most of the stuff turned out to be right. Okay. So they go on there and they're like, hey, to remove this strike, you need to go through retraining. And so I'm like, all right. So you listen to it and it gives these vignettes. And it's like, vaccines save lives, and people don't get sick from vaccines. This is almost like word for word. Okay. Vaccines save lives. People don't get sick from vaccines. And then it gives a question. So Julie got the COVID vaccine and then got sick. Did Julie get sick from the COVID vaccine? So I click like, yes. And they're like, wrong answer. You're going to be banned for like another month. So they're like, wrong answer. You got to go back and answer the same question again. So I'm like, no, they didn't get sick from the COVID vaccine. It's like, dude, it is just straight brainwashing. And there were like 5 questions just like that. They're like, so here's what pisses me off. There's no feedback, because then they give you this thing like, Vaccines have never been proven to cause any type of health issues, da 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 da. And we did this thing with the whole RFK thing when we got banned on that episode. And it was like, there was actually a lawsuit for $20 million. Okay. A federal lawsuit for $20 million with autism and certain vaccines. Not saying that all vaccines cause autisms, but to sit here and tell me that every single vaccine is safe and that there have never been any side effects to any vaccines to make you click yes. So that way we can get our non-monetized video, aired. Dude, it's insane. It is straight brainwashing. And there were like 5 of them,
You're going to have to take another retraining after this episode, because I promise you, because just based on what you just said, it's going to flag within the algorithm, and it's very possible that this one will be kicked off too.
Well, hopefully, because if it does, I'll go through retraining and I'll screenshot it this time, and that can be a new episode. So yeah, sorry for our listeners out there. If you don't catch this in the first 24, 48 hours, Luke's probably right. It's probably not going to, probably won't hear it. Well, no, I don't, but I mean, the podcast wasn't taken
just
down.
for YouTube listeners. Yeah. The podcast will still go up.
Podcast
It's just be YouTube.
Screw YouTube.
Nobody wants to see us on YouTube anyway. Nobody wants
I know there is one person who exclusively watches on YouTube. That's Grant.
No kidding.
He loves it. He's like, and he listens to it mostly, but a lot of his job, he works super hard, man. Grant works really hard, and he's got to be up at the butt crack of dawn to go out, and he supervises, like, I don't want to get too personal with Grant, but he supervises when like Walmart or somebody, or an apartment building is going to pour a giant pad. He supervises and makes sure that's going right, and that's a science. I had no idea what went into that. He's got to take certain measurements and, like, all this stuff, man, because it's got to be just right to support that much weight for that long. So a lot of his job is sitting there waiting for it to be poured, and at certain points he's got to go out there and check it. So yeah, he's just sitting there in the car, and he's like, pull up the YouTube and watch you guys, see your reactions and see how funny looking Roger and Luke look and whatever. So yeah, some people do, but whatever. So shout out to Grant. You got 2 shout outs, Grant and Darren. What do you know about that?
And 3.
And Damon. Yeah. Damon's
going to go buy some balls bomb with Josh, and they're going. Oh, dude, I've got a way to monetize this. So OnlyFans is hot right now. I'm just saying, OnlyFans account, butt bomb, balls bomb, whatever. You and Damon.
I was about to say, Damon, if you get some, then we'll both use it, and then we'll get you on the next episode, and we can talk about our individual experiences about it.
The text that Josh sent in our little group, and you probably should have sent it in the on the Slack, because it's absolutely true. It's a truism that's like, oh God, he's right. And I actually worked really hard today. But Josh, you want to give the G-rated version or the PG-13 version of what you sent out to us about, we worked really hard today, but somebody out there?
I don't remember what I said.
Well, okay, since Josh is having an old man right now, Josh basically said at basically 5:00, he sent a text to us, and he's like, you realize there's someone out there who took pictures of a certain part of their body that made today on OnlyFans, made more money than all 3 of us combined. And it's like, well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But is that person truly fulfilled? I don't know.
Let me ask you this.
I don't. You know what? Here's the thing, though. I don't know if they're fulfilled, right? I don't know if they're fulfilled spiritually, and personally. But I'm just gonna go out on a limb, dude. I've never seen anybody sad in a Ferrari. Just gonna throw it out there.
But you know what? They've had several teachers, and I think the 2 latest ones are from the same school, and they were doing an OnlyFans, and the first one got caught, and I think she got fired. The second one, so apparently she was blurring out her face, but I guess the boyfriend's face wasn't blurred out, and somebody knew the boyfriend, which brings up other questions on it, by itself. but knew it was her because of the boyfriend. And then I think she either took a leave of absence or whatever. But anyway, the teacher's like, hey, I made $1 million this last year. So
That's why you
what do
still
you?
teach it.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Maybe for the
Insurance.
healthcare. Yeah, exactly. The insurance. So what do you think about teachers, counselors, that type of profession being on those type of sites? I mean, do you care? Does it matter?
I don't care.
It shouldn't matter because the kids, shouldn't be on those sites, right? It's 18 and over,
Exactly.
right? So, but besides those kids in Florida that Josh went to school with, where you have a 24-year-old senior, that guy's allowed to get that guy's allowed to get on. But yeah, I mean, I'll kick it to you, Josh, but I really don't have a problem with it. I don't want my daughter doing that. Of course, I think I've taught her better than that. But it's like if somebody else wants to do that and they want to, cover their nut and make their money, dude, knock yourself out. The high school teacher, I don't know. I'd have to think about it more. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. Like, do your thing, man. My mom's listening to this right now. She doesn't know what OnlyFans is. I'll have to explain it to you, Mom.
We'll send her a
Sorry.
link. We'll send her a link.
Oh, jeez. Josh, what do you think? Like, what are because I mean, this touches on First Amendment and freedom of expression and all that stuff. Like, what's your take on all this?
Well, my question is, what's worse? Teachers and administrators and folks going on, a paid site and, selling pictures of their feet to make money, or teachers in the classroom telling kids that they can be the opposite gender and then hiding it from their parents. So
That's a good point.
Why is that okay? Why is that okay? But somebody can't sell pictures of their feet or, whatever other body part they want to. We're going to clutch our pearls at that. But but any other teacher can go in a classroom and tell little Johnny that he's actually a girl and secretly transition him and keep that secret from little Johnny's parents. And we applaud that teacher for their bravery. Dude, the double standard is absolutely ridiculous. If you want to go on OnlyFans and do your thing, like Luke said, I don't want I got $3. I don't want them on OnlyFans. We've raised them, different than that. But at the same time, man, if somebody else wants to go do it, hey man, go knock yourself out. I genuinely don't care. Don't advertise it to the kids. Don't talk to the kids about it. And that's it. And Luke brought up a great point. Why are the kids on those sites? What are parents doing? And it's not necessarily the parents' fault. They can't, it's hard to monitor kids 24/7, especially when they have basically a supercomputer in their pocket. But that stuff starts at home. And yeah, that's my opinion on it. What about the teacher? Yeah, and the teacher, what was she, Canadian or something, with the massive double Z prosthetics?
Oh yeah,
they were like, oh yeah, she can't. It's like, oh okay, well, the teacher next door to her can't, go sell pictures of her butt, but this lady can come in with these just obnoxiously large prosthetics and talk to kids about them. One's okay and one's not. Get out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah, and it goes back to personal responsibility, right? It's like you said. I mean, you've got to take care of what's going on at home. So you're trying to punish the individual that's out there publishing the content, not the people that are paying for it, because again, people are paying to see. I'm assuming they're paid.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, she made $1 million, so you had to go on credit card or something like that, right? So there's people paying for it. If you've got a 12-year-old, 13-year-old at home or whatever, they shouldn't be on those sites anyway. And I've had 3 younger kids, and yeah, it's tough, but you know what? We monitor their stuff between their cell phones and laptops and iPads. They had all that stuff. And, as a parent, well, one, it's called being a parent, and so the responsibility is on the parents, because I guarantee the teachers, and I don't know them personally, obviously, but I'm sure the teachers didn't want that stuff out there either for all the high school kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what was the movie Varsity Blues or whatever it is, with the teachers up, and she's a stripper and comes like, yeah, that's a little freaking awkward.
Yeah. And other thing, one last thing, in Luke, 50 Shades of Grey was the best-selling book of the decade. of the decade in the United States. And those same people who are clutching, who are clutching their pearls about some teacher being on OnlyFans, I guarantee you they bought a copy of 50 Shades of Grey. Guarantee it.
Yeah, I understand. I try to understand how people think. I don't have to agree with them. I was like, I want to understand how people arrived at a certain conclusion. And I understand why parents, of kids in a certain school might have concerns about a teacher being a porn star, might have concerns about, being on OnlyFans because, maybe for some people that brings, certain moral issues and, maybe not ethical, but moral issues. And like, I don't know, I want somebody moral who's upstanding teaching my kids. Now, everybody can disagree on that. What they do in their own time is on them. But, going through the security clearance process, and the 13 adjudicated principles, like Josh was educated me the other day, because I'd forgotten about it. I get it. It's character traits and things like that. I understand, if you're trusting like a fund manager, your money manager, if any of us were rich and we had somebody managing all our money, we might want, if we saw that person doing something online that was a little bit untoward, be like, hey, this person manages my money. Maybe I don't want that person has bad judgment or whatever, So I understand how people think about this. I get it. But I don't have a problem with it though. I really don't. As long as that person is not encouraging my child to do that stuff, is if they're doing their job as a teacher in the class, teaching my kid, what's in the book and teaching them how to think, I don't have a problem. I don't care what you do. Do your job. Do your job. And don't indoctrinate my kid. Don't do anything like that. Josh, you look like you want to say something.
If you fired a teacher, because so these teachers have been fired, right? The teachers that are coming up, getting outed because they're on OnlyFans and stuff like that, they're getting fired. And you hear everybody's cheering it. Go fire a teacher who does drag in the evenings in their off time. Watch how fast you get hit with a lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's the same it's the same crap. It's absolutely insane.
I think we got much bigger fish to fry than going after teachers who in their own time are doing OnlyFans, as long as it doesn't interfere with what they're doing in the classroom, like how they're teaching the kids. And believe me, I understand how that could affect the classroom. I get that because it's the varsity blues thing, right? I got it. But the one thing I'm having a really hard time wrapping my head around, and I'll kick this to Roger right now, is this level, because we talked about Israel and Hamas. We've talked about this a couple episodes ago. We went through the whole Israel thing, went through the whole Hamas thing. But I'm having a hard time, and like Jordan Peterson is a modern day prophet, because I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this burgeoning, I would call it like a viral anti-Semitism movement that's going on. And Josh has been posting it from his Twitter, sometimes from the C3 Twitter, about never again or something. It's a lot of this, you see these protests. We know why they're going on in London. We know why they're going on in Paris, in Germany. There's a very large Muslim population there. But here, we're having some virulent protests, people ripping down the signs and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm kind of in a dark place with this stuff because, as I've said, I mean, Jew hatred for me is just like not a thing. It's just not. I don't even understand why people hate Jews. I get it. I understand, I guess, but I understand, like, where does that come from? Why is that constantly a thing throughout history? And I don't know. I'm in a dark place because I'm sitting here thinking, we had the COVID thing that happened where everyone was wearing masks, everyone was complying and stuff. So like, what if we ramp that up a little bit? And there's three types of people. What are the three types of people, Josh? I'm putting you on the spot. What are the three types of people in this world?
Are we talking about the train thing?
Yeah, we're talking about the trains.
Oh, those who will order you onto a train, those who will put you on a train, and those who will stand by and do nothing as you're put on a train. Well, actually, there's four, and those who will gleefully get on the train themselves.
Yeah. And it's just like, at what point, because we've got what, 6 sitting members of Congress who are all aboard with this stuff, with this anti-Semitism stuff. And I just see a dark horizon. People like, that's never going to be me. I would never stand by why somebody got on a train. The same person that says that is the same one that put on a mask. Hell, I put on a mask in Slovenia because I didn't want a 400-euro fine while I was walking outdoors. And it's just like, it's got me thinking, Roger, like, where's this coming from? My first thought is the universities. My first thought is these are young people. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all this stuff that's going on? Because it's beyond the Israel-Hamas conflict in my mind. Am I just thinking too much about it? What's going on?
No, we've been infiltrated. I mean, and this isn't something we've been infiltrated, and it's an ideology, and it's gone beyond just the last 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. And it goes back to, like you're saying, it's at the university level, it's in your schools, it's how your kids are being indoctrinated. Because now, and here's the thing, and I called in, I say we've been infiltrated because I read an article today, or maybe I saw it on the news, where they were talking about State Department employees being angry because they work for the State Department and knowing the U.S. policy on Israel and Hamas and the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, right? Saying that, well, the U.S. policy is too pro-Israel for me, and for me, so that's what it is. I mean, it is an insider threat. You are being eaten from the inside out. And I'll let Josh, he'll probably elaborate on that a lot better than I did. I did have to look up, though. I mean, because we joked like, okay, so why all the hate for the Jews, right? So I had to do a little bit of reading on the thing, and I get it. I mean, my immediate answer was, well, they killed Jesus, if you're a Christian, and you came back, it's like, well, it really wasn't them, it was the Romans. They killed Jesus. All right. I get it. I know who actually physically did it, but they all had a hand in it. Right. But I had to go do a little bit deeper, and I got to some religious website. So it wasn't something that was just, some objective look at it, by no means, but they were basically like, it's an idea that's been it's a hatred that's been pushed by predominantly Muslim countries, because when you look throughout history, who did not conform to the other gods? It was the Jews, right? Israelites.
For history. Right.
So when you look at from the Egyptians to the Assyrians to the Babylonians, to the Greeks, to the Romans, right? Throughout time, all these people came in, conquered them, right? Conquered the Israelites over and over and over and over and over again. And for the most part, now don't get me wrong, there's plenty of stories in the Bible where they worship false gods, but you had heroes in the Bible that were like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I still have my one and only God. And so they failed to conform. And so, a lot of this hatred, from what I was able to read from the couple articles, really go back to biblical times. And even when you talk about, talk about the Greeks when they were not Hellenistic, but basically they were, converting folks, right? They're converting, Israelites with lands that Alexander the Greek was taking over. There's a term for it. But even with them, they were like, no, we have our places of worship. And throughout the Bible and even history, they show that, yeah, actually, you know what? You're not conforming, and we're going to kind of let you do your thing with your God. And so that hatred, at least from the couple sites that I read, just goes really, really deep back to biblical times on, hey, man, these were the folks that always just pushed back. They pushed back and they never conformed. And, how the Jewish people are today is very, very similar to how they were 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. Anything beyond that, I think you probably get into a lot of religious viewpoints. I mean, we talked a little bit about this with Isaac. And here's my piece for those that didn't hear it last time with the Cajun Conservative, but here's the reality. Okay. From the river to the sea means that you are going to have a Palestinian state. Okay. From the Jordan River all the way to the sea, which means no Israel, which means genocide, which means that you have to wipe out the Jews. Okay. Now, that's widely accepted. You do have Rashid Tlaib. I was like, no, it's just an inspirational saying. No, it's not. Okay. Historically, that's what it means. That's what everybody knows that it means. And it means that we know that because, by the way, Hamas used that in their 2017 charter. Why is this important? Because who elected Hamas by an overwhelming majority in 2017? The Palestinians. That's what it is, man. This is, to me, in my mind, it is no different than supporters of ISIS or ISIL. And I get it. Babies die. People die. There's collateral damage. Hey, man, we just got out of a war that we've been fighting for 20 years. And oh, by the way, we're still fighting, right? Just not there yet. We'll be back again. History proves itself. It's cyclic. But we're continuing to fight those same enemies in the Middle East. And I don't see a difference between the two. And here where I'm at, they were just talking about, this food for Palestinians and this and that. I'm like, hey, you're feeding terrorists. And until somebody can tell me, give me a different accepted interpretation, river to the sea, from the river to the seas, and until somebody can tell me and explain why they overwhelmingly elected a terrorist organization, a recognized terrorist organization that has that in their charter in 2017. And recent polling from last year shows that like 57% of the Palestinian people still support Hamas and their tactics. Are there innocent people? Absolutely. There's going to be a handful, but like Josh said, right? Yeah, this slippery slope. Because when Trump said, and I said Trump first. When Trump said, yeah, there were some good people on the other side as well. Oh, that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough. So if you have that label for them, then you have that label for all. The fact is, they support a terrorist organization. They voted in a terrorist organization. This terrorist organization conducted a terrorist act that was no different, except for the amount of people. But you can argue about the scale than what happened to us on 9/11. And now the Israelis have every right to defend themselves and go root out terrorists, just like we are still doing around the world. Josh just posted an article. I'll throw it to him. I know everybody's hearing, tired of hearing me talk, but would you agree that, we've been infiltrated, right? It's an ideology that has infiltrated our ranks and even the government now, the top ranks of the government. And the scary thing is, you thought what happened with Trump with the deep state was bad. Dude, now they're eating their own. You look at the Department of State, how long does it go before it starts to affect foreign policy?
Yeah. So, all right. So there's obviously a lot to unpack. And we're not going to do it justice here, but so the article that I just pushed, Roger and Luke, North Andover, Massachusetts has allowed for the Palestinian flag to be flown in their town, their township, their town common. All right. So basically in the city center where, your little city flag and state flag and
Unreal.
American flag are flown, they've now allowed for the Palestinian flag to be raised in that way, which is absolutely mind-boggling, but it's not surprising in the same thought, because Luke is spot on. This has happened. This has been happening for the last 20, 30 years. Academia, the left played the long game and they beaten us at it. They're like China. They're like, we're not going to be able to we're not going to win this and get our agenda pushed through in the next election cycle, but we can get it pushed through in the next 2 decades. All right. We just have to play the long game. And their long game was to get into academia. The military, generally speaking, has always kind of skewed conservative for the most part. That doesn't mean everybody in the military is, conservative before some of you clowns come at me. All right. But generally speaking, police forces, military, things like that, generally skew conservative. Academia has almost always skewed to the left. And, before there was closeted folks who did it. Now they're able to be, they're able to be open, and this has been going on for a while. So you take a look at this, what's going on in Massachusetts. Take a look at the protests and the demonstrations that have occurred in the United States, on the pro-Palestinian side. We've seen it in Dearborn, Michigan. Everybody, unless you've been living under a rock, since the early 2000s, since our ill-advised invasion of Iraq and deposing Saddam, we have settled a number of refugees from Iraq and across the Middle East in Dearborn, Michigan. All right. Because we use this idea of, well, if we just put them all together, then they'll have a sense of community, right? They'll assimilate better, they'll assimilate faster, and they'll be fine. Instead of treating them like they should have been treated, like basically prisoners of war. Hey, check it out. We are going to separate them and place them across the United States in very, very small groups. That way they can assimilate to the societies around them as much as possible, right? Instead of placing them in large groups. We are so stupid and we continue to be stupid, and I don't understand it. All right. So take a look to Dearborn, Michigan, take a look at the riots, the mostly peaceful protests in Minneapolis. That's where we dumped all the Somalis over the last 20 years. Take a look in Jacksonville, Florida at some of the protests. Where did we dump all of the Syrians from the Defeat ISIS campaign? We dumped them all in Jacksonville, Florida. All right. When you had the night of Veterans Day, you had pro-Palestinian protesters climbing the fence, climbing on top of the fences around the White House, throwing stuff at the U.S. Secret Service. And then you've had all this all across, the U.S. in our colleges, especially on college campuses. You've had these pro-Palestinian protests. They've trapped Jewish students in libraries, wouldn't let them leave. They threatened, to beat them up, threatened with physical violence, on campus, and nothing is being done about it. Nothing is happening because most of the college campuses are nothing but, they're nothing but petri dishes for Marxism and communism. And it's happened. And it didn't happen under our nose. It happened in plain sight, right out in the open for all to see. And, we said, no, that's not happening. That could never happen here. And yet it has. And so one of the things that, we don't have time in this episode to do it, but when you're sitting here on Veterans Day weekend and you're asking yourself, what was it all for? What was it all for? We were told in 2001, right after 9/11, when we went into Afghanistan, we are going in there to go, basically, this is straight retribution and vengeance for 9/11. And then we were told in 2003, the invasion of Iraq, this is so we fight them over there so we don't have to fight them here at home. Well, how did that work out? Because now they're here at home. And what are we going to do about it now?
I was going to go into another. I actually wrote it down here in my notes. I want to talk about something, and then I made another note where I want to try to talk about that after. But Josh completely derailed me, so we'll just jump right into the second thing I want to talk about. Maybe we can return to the other one, where you said Veterans Day, and a long talk with my wife on this past Sunday. There's here at Texas Tech, they're doing a memorial here on Friday that I'm not going to be able to make it to because it's in the afternoon and I have to work. I have to put food on the table. I can't go to this. They're doing a walk of whatever, where there's bricks and stuff, and they're going to put memorials to everyone who's got a Purple Heart and who has, died as a veteran. And one of those is my cousin. And we can go into my cousin later, but he was killed in Afghanistan. He Silver Star, Purple Heart, saved people while he was dying. And it's, it's an emotional story for me, but I'm not going to go, and I'm not brokenhearted about it. And my wife was asking me why, I wish this meant more to you. And it's like, it does mean a lot to me. But so we got into this long conversation about what the last 24 years has been about. for me at least, and I want to bounce this off you guys. And honestly, with the way things went and the way things are continuing to go, and this is to Josh's point, in Iraq, Syria, we're looking at another war. We're looking right down the barrel of another war over there. The way things went in Afghanistan, where I drank for like probably a week straight after I was watching the videos of us pulling out of there. And I bought a T-shirt, and boy, there was a company ready to go with that T-shirt with a map of Afghanistan that below it says "For what." It's a black T-shirt, white Afghanistan with "For what." And at this point, I feel like it's like we've talked about this on the podcast. We talked about this with each other. They were truly the best and the worst of times, right? I'm glad I went through it. But for what? For what? I just want to stop talking about it now because it was much ado about nothing. I just want to stop talking about it. I want to stop all this stuff. Maybe when they make the memorial in DC, which will be shitty, by the way, our memorial in DC will be crap. It will look a lot like the Korea Memorial, which is, I'm sorry, not the Korea, the World War II or World War I Memorial, which is tucked away in the back. And it's such a disgrace that that's the memorial. That'll be ours. So I just don't want to, I'm done with it. I'm just done with it. I don't want any recognition. I don't want any discounts. I don't want anybody to thank me for my service. I just rather forget about the why, not the how. I love the how. I love the how and the what. What I don't like is the why. I'm just done with it. So maybe, I don't know if I'm alone in that. I'm sure that maybe I am. And you guys have a different perspective than I do. And I'll kick it to Roger for that perspective. The global war on terrorism, the Iraq, Africa, Afghanistan, that whole stuff that was going on in other parts of the world that had totally to do with the GWAT, but you weren't in the theater. How do you feel about that? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel like a retired ball player. It's, when you're in it, you love the sport, you love the camaraderie, you believe in the mission. Maybe you like the head coach, maybe you don't. You still play, pays well, takes care of your family. You get to travel, and I don't miss, or I should say, I don't regret anything that I've ever done, during my time of service. However, that was a different chapter in my life, and I do other things, and it's not even a bigger and better thing. It's just different, right? That is a closeout chapter. Hey, even Tom Brady had to retire, right? So he retires and he moves on, and you've got those that keep coming back to it. And hey, I don't fault those people that come back, and they come back as contractors, they come back as government employees, they do whatever. For me, I need a little bit of a cleaner break. And I guess I got a quasi cleaner break from what I do now, but it's just a different chapter in my life. My ball playing years were over. That's done. And, we'll sit here and we'll shoot the shit and crack a beer and get and drink a little too much when we're all together about some things that we did and, whatever else. But those are different times. And so now, I choose to live in the present and choose to live in the future because, at the same time, we're still young. I mean, you're a little old, but, Josh and I are still young. And so I've got kids now that, my daughter's home from clinicals for a couple months, and my son's getting ready to graduate next year. So I've got family still in the house, kids still in the house, and I'm trying to raise things that we're trying to do together as a family, things that we're planning for next year, or the year after, 5 years down the road. Looking at my kids, helping them plan to buy their first homes and that type of stuff. So it's not that I'm very similar in your mindset in that. Hey, you know what? I mean, don't get me wrong. My neighbors say thank you and this and that, and it's appreciated, but I don't need to hear it. I don't necessarily need the blooming onion from Applebee's or whatever. I mean, we had a job to do. Again, there are different motivations for reasons why people did those jobs, and some people did them for 3 years, and some people did them for 23 years. Whatever the case is. But for me personally, again, it's a retired ball player, and they can hang pictures up and do whatever it is they're going to do. But I had somebody not too long ago that I was his former first sergeant, and we connected on one of the social media things. And, his first, I can't tell if he was joking or not, maybe slightly joking, a little bit, slightly truth. He was like, F you, I don't have to call you first sergeant anymore. And again, this wasn't done during, verbally, this was done chatting. And I didn't even respond to it. I was just kind of like, hey man, badass, you do you. I'm on to other things. Like, you were still stuck back in that time frame. And again, maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe he was kind of joking a little bit or whatever, but I'm like, dude, you're not offending me by not calling me a first sergeant or a sergeant major or a sergeant first class or whatever. I don't care. I couldn't care less. Like, if you hated those years or you hated me or the rank or whatever it is, man, I don't care. It's like, hey, I've got other things that I'm doing with my family right now. But some people get stuck in those times. I think a lot of it just depends on why you served, why you left. And there's probably a lot of other factors in there in people's lives outside of the military that leave them in the state that they're in. So I don't know, Josh, you got different thoughts?
No, I mean, my thoughts are pretty similar to to your guys's. It was truly the best of times and it was the worst of times. Um, but like Luke said, at the end of the day, what was it for? It was for nothing. And and I'll go back to Luke's Luke's post, and I've reposted it a couple times, over whenever you posted to begin with it, if we do ever, and I agree with Luke, I think the GWAT memorial to us, to us so-called GWAT warriors, I think it is going to be like the World War I memorial. It's going to be tucked away on the mall somewhere, kind of out of sight. Everybody walks past it and nobody notices it. Because I mean, it truly became, the GWAT truly became like the Korean War. It truly became the forgotten war. The military was at war. America was at the mall, so to speak. And the rest of what Luke said was like, we were young, we were giving ourselves to something bigger, and that something bigger no longer exists. And like, I mean, that I had been looking for a way to kind of summarize how I felt about the whole thing, up to that point, and Luke did it perfectly. Because Luke's good with that stuff, and he's all, we got his college, degree in philosophy and education and stuff, and so, but he captured how I felt with that, and it's patronizing that every year nobody really cares until it's a holiday weekend, and they're like, here's your free bloomin' onion and here's your free cup of coffee. But then for the next 364 days, we have veterans dying in VA parking lots. We have, veterans homeless on the streets, living in, they're destitute, and they can't get help. And all the while, we are catering to terrorists. We're catering to terror here at home, here in the United States. We're allowing Palestinians to go out and support their terrorist brethren overseas. We're allowing folks to go out, and raise their terrorist flag, the Palestinian flag, above the cities in our country. And then you have these other idiots, and I think a lot of these other folks that are part of these protests, I think they're a bunch of college kids who are too stupid to know what they're actually supporting. It's just the current thing. Right. They've been taught to hate Israel. They've been taught to hate a bunch of people over the years, Americans included. And it's just the current thing with them. And somebody started doing, remember, who was it that would walk the streets during their, their evening, talk show and ask people just random questions that people couldn't answer, like, they couldn't answer.
Yeah, it's Waters
started.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So somebody did this on, some of these college campuses, and people out there, tearing down signs of the hostages that Hamas still has. And they asked them, they're like, just like Roger, they asked them, they're like, what does from the river to the sea mean? And they'd be like, oh, it means, free Palestine. They're like, okay, well, which river are they talking about? And they couldn't answer the question. They're like, well, just, the river. And it's like, no, which river and which sea? And they're like, well, the sea. They couldn't say. So a lot of these folks out there participate in the protests. One, some of them are being paid to do it. They're being bussed in. That big protest and stuff that they had in Austin, they came in on tour buses. And, so I think you got a mixed bag of folks, but they're dangerous because those idiots they're not educated. They don't know what they're supporting. Just like the alphabet people who were supporting, alphabet people for Palestine, alphabet people for Gaza, and it's like they would throw you off the top of a building if you went over there. You realize that. There was an incident to where some alphabet person tried to step in and help this Muslim who was ranting at a few Jewish people, and the Muslim turned around and told them to get the F out of there. He was like, "I'll kill you too," and they were just like, I'm here to help you, and I'm on your side. And it was awakening, at least for one person. It kind of figured out quick, like, oh, okay, well, that didn't go the way I intended it to, or I thought it would. But no, man, I'm in the same boat. I don't want to be thanked for my service. I don't want your free blooming onion. I don't want your free cup of coffee. I just want to be left alone, and I want to try and get my kids raised and make sure my kids are safe and protected until I check out of this world. Because it was fun while we did it. It was truly one of the best times of my life, but it wasn't the best time of my life. And ultimately, it was for nothing.
Well, it was the best time of my life. I mean, well, not all things considered, but it was a pretty good time. So Roger sent us a graphic. I think probably a company that might win the contract for the GWAT Memorial. It's going to be like east of the Vietnam Memorial. So kind of like behind the Vietnam Memorial, like closer to the Lincoln Memorial, I believe. So yeah, it's whatever. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know, but I do believe that people want to just forget about that. Just like us, they kind of want to forget about it. But here's the problem. And this dovetails really great to the next thing I want to talk about. And I think that Josh will actually address this, because it's not necessarily about the election. It's about politicians. So what bothers me is everything we're talking about right now. There are folks still over there. We have a listener, Robert, who is over there right now. Over there, I don't want to OPSEC and all that stuff. He's over in an active area where most Americans don't understand that we're still there. You see all these graphics on Fox News. There have been 56 attacks on these, U.S., U.S. outposts or whatever you want to call them over there in Syria and Iraq. And Americans, the average Americans are like, I guarantee you, they're like, oh, wow, an attack on us. But in the back of their minds, like, I didn't realize we were still over there. We've got living, breathing American soldiers over there right now getting, I'm not going to say they're getting effed up, but they are taking a lot of fire. Put it to you that way. They're taking a lot of fire. And it's like, okay, so I guess we're just ramping up to do this again. Because all it's going to take, and I check on Robert as often as I can. Sometimes I don't hear from him and I get worried, because it's like, we're not over there. We were over there back in the day. I don't know what countermeasures they're taking. I don't know how aggressive they're getting over there. I don't know. It's going to take is one big one. One gets through through all the countermeasures, and you got a bunch of soldiers dead. Now what? Now what are we going to do? It's all Iran. It's Iran, their proxies. And when I say they're proxies, I mean Iran. They don't do anything without Iran saying, let's go do it. And what got us into this whole thing? This neocon nonsense. I mean, look, Roger and I had a text back and forth the other day. I don't know if Josh was part of it or not, where it's like, I think George W. Bush is a good man. I think he's a good man. I think some of his decisions maybe weren't the best. I think he was influenced in a lot of ways, but I don't think he was I think his heart was in the right place with every decision he made. I think that's most people, but some of those decisions can be bad. And I see Nikki Haley out there talking all this nonsense. She's a freaking neocon, man. And today, and Josh, you probably know what I'm going to talk about. She's saying every person on social media should be verified by their name because of national security, because we need to get rid of these Russian and Chinese bots because of national security. And all I see is Patriot Act 3.0. I look at Nikki Haley as Dick Cheney. No, not even Dick Cheney 2.0. Nikki Haley is the Wish.com version of Dick Cheney, who's going to do more damage than Dick Cheney ever did. Like, she wants to go to war with Iran so bad. And man, ask me what, 20 years ago, I think we should have gone to war with Iran 20 years ago. I really do. Right now, dude, I'm done with it. Just like we talked about the Veterans Day thing and how we feel about all this stuff. It's just like, and the fact that Nikki Haley is gaining traction, Roger, it's just like, I've seen this movie before.
Hey, Vivek did call her Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels, and that was a spot on assessment.
Yes. Roger, man, give me the front page on Nikki Haley. I mean, I know Josh don't want to really get into the whole 2024 race, but I mean, she's not going anywhere. It's like she's not going to win this time. We all know that. But
yeah, I don't know where
her
I don't know where her support comes from. And my son actually asked me that this morning. You know, they were looking at some of the polls and yada yada yada, and he was like, "Dad, why do so many people support her?" And because even during the last debate, I mean, we didn't really talk about it too much, but she got beat up a little bit, and I was shocked at how many polls and how many news media outlets came out and was like, she was the clear winner. I'm like, I didn't get that at all. And so, you know, I don't know. The only thing that I could possibly, you know, think of, and you know, let me know you agree, disagree. Maybe people are just so fed up with the passiveness that we've had over the last 2.5 years, and the fact that this administration literally does nothing about anything that affects us as a country for the good anyway. That they're just like, hey, man, you know what? We've been so passive on everything. And like you said, somebody's going to die. We need to go fight somebody. That's the only thing I can think of, is that it's just like, we can't continue down the road that we're on now. And so the next best thing that we have out there is to just go to war with everybody. And I agree with you. There were times and places to do that. Right. I vaguely, we were chatting about this. There was a demonstration during the Barry years. Come on, man. Right. I was certain. I'm like telling my kids, like, hey, you have to watch TV. I mean, we are about to see the fall of a regime that is going to happen in front of your eyes and not a shot fired by us.
Same thing in Cuba.
Dude, we've had 3 or 4 of them, right? That have happened. Oh, by the way, during Democratic, you know, presidencies. So, you know, whatever, causation is not correlation or whatever that term is. But I just know when it happened, I'm just like, man, this is about to go down. You know, we talked about Anthony Blinken. We still need to go back and re-listen to our episode when he announced his cabinet, you know, because, hey, who was a big player during the Arab Spring? Go look that up, kids. I mean, this stuff is cyclic. And, you know, my only guess with the Nikki Haley thing is that people are so fed up that they get thrown to another extreme, to the other extreme, right? It's like, we've done nothing for so long that we just got to do something. And something is, you know, I'm, again, like him, love him, hate him, whatever, not talking about him specifically. The strike on, and I heard this today, but the strike on Soleimani was genius, right? I think it was well-timed. It was placed. You nipped it in the bud. And it's like, hey, here's the deal. You can do all your little things here and there. You touch the hair on the head of a U.S. service member, we're going to turn you into a parking lot. Right. Or as Josh said, you know, a bowl of salsa, you know, Persian salsa, or ceviche, I guess, whatever the hell it is that they eat over there. But hummus, some hummus. But, you know, and I even heard that thrown out today that, yeah, if something like this happens, because they were opining the same thing Luke was, that, you know, it's only going to take one of these rockets to get through. All right. And a service member is going to die. So what's the reaction going to be? And what's it going to be? What can you do to not get us involved in another war? And I thought that was very strategic. It was very tactical. It was extremely kinetic. And you sent a signal, man, that like, hey, man, if you're ready to do this, you know, hey, we are the 800-pound gorilla in the cage. And we just haven't done it. And we haven't done it around the world. And that's why you have what's going on now. You haven't done it. You know, it's the whole thing with China and Taiwan, which we all agree with, that, you know, Taiwan's lost. It's gone. People are still fighting that fight. Dude, that thing is gone. Take the money and send it somewhere else, because mark my words, and I know we're all in agreement on here, but mark my words, that thing will be taken over just like Hong Kong without a shot being fired in an upcoming election. You're going to have a sympathizer that wins the election, and guess what? It's all over with. We don't even recognize their sovereignty. But that's the problem. When you play such a weak role on the world stage, you get what you have right now. And going back to Luke's question, I can only imagine that people support her because it's just the exact opposite to the extreme of what we've seen over the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know. I can't think of any other reason.
It's your turn, Josh.
He keeps pointing to his shirt, appeal to heaven.
I didn't know what Luke was doing. I thought he was about to put on some ball bomb or something.
No,
touching his junk.
Honestly, I'll tell you exactly what I was doing. I'm wasting time here, but I was commenting to Matt Gaetz on Twitter. He's all in on McCarthy, elbowing the dude in the hall, and he's like, he's a weak, pathetic husk of a man. So I had to comment, he's not going to date you, bro. And I had to turn my screen down to be able to hit the button to comment. So that's what I was doing. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't like Matt Gaetz. I don't like that dude. Sorry, Josh.
We talk about people who have, very punchable faces. Matt Gaetz falls into that bin. He has a very punchable face. So I will discuss politics. I'm just not discussing the 2024 election. 'Cause I'm done with it. But Mike Johnson, right? We got a new speaker because Matt Gaetz threw a temper tantrum, right? Because McCarthy, wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing, which is fine. Okay. And again, it was no secret that I was not a fan of McCarthy to begin with, and I didn't want McCarthy to be speaker. But when Matt Gaetz, turned the House on its head, it was like, okay, all right, well, what's your plan, buddy? And everybody was like, some people were, they came out with that stupid ass, 2020 trust the plan, trust the plan thing, and then we're gonna get an America First speaker, and Gaetz and the other 8, like they're gonna save America. I see where the new speaker went ahead and we passed another temporary CR today. In the House. It's going to go to the Senate. It's going to get approved. It's going to go to Biden's desk, and he's going to sign it. And then in like 45 days, we're going to do this. We're going to do this all again. So my question is, what's different? Other than the fact that it's not an omnibus, right? They got to vote on each bill separately, but they're still going to vote and approve each bill that was going to go into this. So what's different? What did Matt Gaetz do? All he did was up in the House for a couple of weeks, make the GOP look like bigger idiots than they already do. And now we're right back where we started. And Matt Gaetz is like, yeah, elbow McCarthy in the back. I'm not a fan of either one of them, but we talked about at the very beginning of this podcast, I think it would be pretty good if somebody in the House would drag Matt Gaetz out back and take him to the woodshed, take him to the wood line for a good old fashioned ass whipping, and go ahead and settle that and mess up his hair a little bit if it's possible. I don't know how much product he puts in his hair, but it's got to be a lot, man. I mean, that shit's probably the same as it's probably ballistic rated at this point.
You need to put some balls bomb in his shampoo.
He's got like a Klingon head. Like I don't think he would look good bald.
Yeah, I'm with Josh. I'm just done with the theatrics, and you got to give props to the Democrats in the House, because when it's time to circle the wagons, they definitely do. And although they look like clowns to us, they don't look like clowns to their constituency. They don't when they circle their wagons. Conversely, the Republicans pulling this nonsense look like a bunch of clowns. And Ronna Romney McDaniel, she is a Romney, RNC chair, needs to step down. And I'll leave it at that because I know we don't have much time. But all this crap we talked about, veterans and all that stuff, we got, I don't know if the majority of our audience is veterans or not, but you know how we feel. And thank you for your service. I hate that so much. I'm trying to real quick. I'll kick it to you, Roger, and then Josh to close us out. But I'm trying to, because my boss's boss sent me an email on last Friday thanking me for my service. And I sent this clunky thing back to her. And anytime someone thanks me for my service, I'm trying to come up with a very concise way to say, no, you know what? It truly was an honor to serve, because the fact that you taxpayers trusted me to do the stuff I did is truly amazing. Because again, like we said, it was the best of times, and we got to do those best of times things because the taxpayer paid us to do that, and they trusted us to do that stuff. So it's like, no, like, really, thank you. It was quite an honor. So I think the short version of that is when someone says thank you for your service, when I go buy my vapes or whatever, I get a little 20% discount or whatever it is, and they said, oh, thank you for your service. I was like, all I say, it was an honor. I think that kind of sums it up, right? It's like, it truly is. I served at the behest of the taxpayer, and that's kind of how I see it. But so thanks everyone for your service. You're welcome for my service. And the shout outs, Jason, I forgot I sent him a text and I said, you're welcome for my service. And he's a former Marine. And he's like, bro, you're welcome for mine too, but you forgot about my birthday. I'm 248 years old, or however. I was like, I can't believe I forgot the Marine Corps birthday. It just slipped my mind. So Jason listens on his commute in and out of the Beltway. I appreciate it. And all y'all who listen, Scott, appreciate y'all listening. And I always forget somebody, Ryan, Gary, thanks for what y'all do. Thanks for listening. So Roger, it's all you.
Yeah, quick shout out to Will. He actually hit me up the other day. He's like, hey, man, I'm jonesing for an episode. I'm like, dude, we just dropped one. He's like, yeah, I already finished that one. I'm ready for another one. So, again, thanks to everybody out there. I know this was a long one. We're going to try to get back on a little bit more of a regular schedule. I think we're all kind of homebound, sort of, for the next 2 months, but we'll do better about getting online. So stay safe out there. Keep your Canteen cups tightly secured and full of some good booze. And I guess coming up will be Thanksgiving. We get fatter and some eggnog with Christmas right around the corner. Stay safe. Peace.